Hello and welcome to NFL Experts. I'm Dave Kress along with Louie. And again, we're doing our way too early fantasy rankings, part of our fantasy focus part of NFL Experts today. So today our top 5 receivers for the 2013 fantasy season. Number 5, I have Roddy White. Roddy White obviously came off a great year with a great quarterback like Matt Ryan. Also, people can easily compare him to Julio Jones. They're two very similar receivers. But I think Roddy White will have a great season next year, just like he did the past few years.
Yeah, my number 5 guy is Demaryius Thomas, receiver from Denver. You can go either way with this. Thomas could be 4 or 5. I like him as 5. Obviously, one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He has in Peyton Manning. Just posted over 10 points a game, averaged over 10 points a game. He was a touchdown machine, great speed. I just think he'll be a definite second round or third round pick if you're looking receiver, and maybe a potential in keeper leagues low end first round pick.
Yeah, Thomas, he's my 4th guy. Like you said, obviously Peyton Manning makes him that much better than he was with obviously Tim Tebow, and like you said, Peyton spreads the ball around.
Yeah.
Like I mentioned in the quarterback episode, but his favorite target is one of his favorite targets is Demaryius Thomas, and don't see why that's going to stop next year, even with Peyton Manning will just make him look that much better. So he's going to, in my opinion, have a great year next year for fantasy.
Yeah, no, when you see him post the numbers he did, even though,
Yes.
and you look at the stats Eric Decker had, it still just proves that even with the other weapons, Thomas will still get productive points. My number 4 guy is Roddy White, receiver out of the Atlanta Falcons. Obviously, the Falcons have another great receiver in Julio Jones that didn't make my list, but I just think Roddy White's the more complete receiver. He's a touchdown machine, great speed, the bigger size than Julio, just the more complete receiver, great route runner. I think he's a low-end number 1 receiver, not high-end number 2. A great pick in the second or third round to me again, and maybe the first round in different situations. He's got a great quarterback in Matt Ryan with him too, and if Tony Gonzalez does retire, they're going to be looking to Roddy White even more, and especially too if their run game, if they lose Michael Turner. Have Jacquizz Rodgers as their starter.
All right, so number 3, I have Brandon Marshall. So do you as well.
Yep.
And Marshall coming off, getting out of Miami, he just lit it up in Chicago. I have him in our keeper league, along with Marshawn Lynch, and I'm pretty happy with him. I think he's gonna have another great year next year.
Yeah, I agree with you. The fact that he produced in Miami with quarterbacks like Chad Henne, then he actually got to go over to Chicago with a great quarterback, and you saw what he did.
Yeah.
Jay Cutler turned into a Pro Bowl. Marshall just did terrific, over 10 touchdowns. To me, a great number 1 receiver.
Yeah, I believe he was second in the league for yards.
Yeah.
Second or third, one of those.
He's that whole receiving offense, and definite for number 1 receiver, definite first round pick to me. And he's going to be a great receiver this year, especially with Jay Cutler and his chemistry getting even better. I'm just interested to see what Mark Trestman does in the offense, but Brandon Marshall is one of the best receivers in the league, and he'll be a great number 1 receiver in fantasy.
All right, so number 2, we both have A.J. Green. Green is just unstoppable. I love Green. I had him last year. I picked him as a keeper league, but I picked him for last pick in the first round, and he was great. He's just so explosive down the field. Him and Andy Dalton really have chemistry. Green will have another great year in his 3rd season, I think.
Definitely. The Bengals' offense is a definite passing offense. Green's the biggest part of that. Like you said, him and Dalton really connect. Big, deep threat. He's another guy that scores a ton of touchdowns. He's a definite number 1 receiver. Definite first-round pick. And to me, Green's just he's fast. He's the second most complete. He's just one of the best receivers in the league, and it'll definitely show again this year as Dalton and his chemistry just grows stronger.
All right, so number 1, we obviously have Megatron Calvin Johnson Jr.
Yeah, Calvin Johnson, I have him in our keeper league. Just been the best receiver in all of football for the past 2, debatably 3 years. Another amazing year, breaking the record for most receiving yards in a season. Only thing that I'd like to see better is his touchdowns this year went down. He only had 5 touchdowns in the year, but that'll get better as him and Matt Stafford grow together. And just to me, definite. No matter what, he's a definite first round pick, and he is the clear cut number 1 receiver in fantasy football.
Yeah. Easily, I mean. Especially if Calvin can get his touchdowns. I mean,
yeah.
If he gets to that, like, where
he was 2 years ago.
Marshall was, or someone, like, with 11 touchdowns and still with the 1,800 yards, that's just great.
I mean, he can do it because the year before he had 16 touchdowns. So
yeah.
He was on pace to almost break the record. So, but I just think that has to do too with not just Calvin. I think it had to do with Matt Stafford and that offensive line, and I think that'll change this year. And I think they'll be looking to Calvin more. I just think too in the red zone too, they were looking for. They really gave the ball to LaShore.
LaShore a lot. He was a touchdown machine. That's really where he got his fantasy production.
His touchdowns will be up though this year, definitely. I think.
Yeah.
I think they just got off to a slow start, but
they had a bad year. I mean, coming off the playoffs, then they just went like 4-12.
Where do you think Calvin, in a normal fantasy league, where do you think he should be picked? What selection in the first round?
Probably 5 through 8.
Yeah, definitely. I agree with you because running back still is the most.
I mean, obviously the first 3 picks, first 4 picks should probably be running
backs, yeah.
And then you either go with a guy like Breeze, Rodgers, or Calvin, or something like that, yeah.
All right, that's going to do it for today's NFL Experts. Way too early fantasy projections. Be sure to check us out next time when we do our top 5 tight ends.
See ya.